everyone for joining me once again on Next in Queue, the podcast about customer experience and contact center professionals. I'm your host, Rob Dwyer, and joining me today, I am very privileged to have the COO of Active Engage with me, Carol Marshall. Welcome to the show, Carol. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to get to talk with you today and appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, so you're joining from sunny Florida, is that right?
Indeed, yes.
I kind of wish I had your weather right now. We're freezing over here in St. Louis, so
It is what they call Chamber of Commerce weather today, for sure. 73 and sunny. It's perfect.
All right, stop it.
Yeah.
So your expertise is certainly within sales and customer experience and digital engagement. But that said, in a very specific niche. So tell us about that. Where is your passion?
It's in the automotive buying journey, truly, and from every aspect of it. So, interestingly enough, my stepfather was a car dealer, and I used to, in college, would go to the auction with him, and he'd pay for the hotel room and the beer, and my friends and I would drive the cars there and drive the other cars back. But that was not my goal in life. I kind of happenstanced my way into the retail side, working for AutoNation as an assistant general manager, and then their first e-commerce district director. And so I came to know the retail side of automotive from being in a dealership. And then when the internet first happened, back in 99, 2000, came to understand the internet buyer and shopper and helped our dealers get comfortable in meeting them where they are and setting up the right policies, the right processes, hiring the right people. And then from there, I joined Mazda in the regional office in Jacksonville, Florida, as a sales process manager. So again, helping with the sales process from now the manufacturer perspective, helping dealers. And then from Mazda, I joined Active Engage. And what appealed to me is back in 99, 2000, when AutoNation rolled out their website and every store got a computer, and corporate would tell us, you had 11 visitors on your virtual lot yesterday morning, and it was a Wednesday rainy morning. I remember sitting there going, that's great, but who are they? What were they looking at? What did they want to know? What need are they trying? We didn't know any of that. And with Active Engage, our dealers can know every one of those answers in great detail. And so that's the way we've constructed our conversations. That's the way our frontline agents handle those conversations, is really getting to know that shopper and what need are they trying to fulfill and helping them think through things. I mean, people don't buy a car every month or every year.
Oh.
So many things you're not thinking of. We try to help remind the shopper of that, which in turn helps our dealer clients meet those needs more succinctly, more effectively, and makes for just a better journey all the way around. So,
yeah, just to set the stage, like 99, 2000, you're doing e-commerce marketing. Yahoo was a powerhouse then. That's the time frame we're talking about.
Yes. So what was this is funny, and it's not funny. As I would go to dealerships, my internet sales team would have to unplug their phone and plug in their fax machine to receive a fax of the internet lead. That's how we.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really old, Rob.
No, you're experienced. There's a difference.
Okay.
There is a distinct difference. So it seems like you have really just had a front seat to seeing the power of internet retailing and really how that retailing and prospecting and how that has grown leaps and bounds, because right? I mean, 99, that was infancy of really the internet as we know it.
Yes.
So aside from the plugging in a fax machine and the knowledge that you have of any individual visitor, what else has changed in that time frame? Maybe what's changed from the actual customer perspective in that time frame?
That's a great question. When Active Engage started, gosh, I guess it's been 2007, 2008. When people were chatting then, they would put in like two words. They put in Honda Accord. And then you could almost visualize it just back away, right? Because no one was comfortable chatting. No one chatted. It was a unique thing. And so our agents would have to take Honda Accord and matriculate from that. Okay, are you looking for a new or a used, and really kind of nurse the conversation along. Fast forward to 22, everyone's comfortable chatting. You chat on your banks, your schools, doctors' offices, everywhere, right? So it's so different. Put alongside people's level of comfort in chat in general, what's happened within the economy. So when we started was the Great Recession,
Yeah.
2008. So those first couple years, it was a lot of people of, I need my car to get to work and my car broke down, but I have all of these credit events. I don't know, so a lot of empathy, a lot of really good listening. And fast forward again to today, there's an inventory shortage, but there's also all these really cool features and the electrification of vehicles and how does that work. And so now it's much more feature oriented conversations.
Yeah, certainly when I think about the auto buying experience, similar to a house buying experience, it's a very emotional purchase.
Yes.
It's a long-term purchase, and it's a really expensive purchase, and all of those things make it really challenging from a customer perspective. And then I think about a lot of our perceptions of the dealer experience.
Yes.
And maybe we've had bad experiences, and so there's a lot of
Yes.
trepidation that goes along with that. Are the digital channels and the tools that we have now, or even some of the avenues where customers have to buy cars, is it changing that kind of trepidation that people have? I mean, I know it's not going to change the emotional part, but is it changing how they perceive interacting in that sales process?
Absolutely. It's not so much. Yes, I mean, there's been studies that show people would rather go to the dentist than go through the process of buying a car. And yet everyone loves getting a new car. They love getting a new car, having it, but not going through the process, right? And understandably so. The change that I primarily see is, whereas in the past, price was such a sticking point and this haggling back and forth, and still there's a certain percentage of consumers that have that in mind. Today, it's ease, it's convenience, it's the Amazon effect.
Mm-hmm.
People want to go, click, boom, be done. The difference is, this is not a $30 cat carrier, as you said. It's a super expensive long-term commitment. So that's the role that we play and that other dealers play for themselves online, is you've got to start that relationship by building trust, by acknowledging what's being said, and then providing. There's so many different tools that dealers have today that you can kind of have that Amazon process. You can pretty much buy a car online if you choose. What's interesting is, it's not the younger demographics that want that. they want to come in, they want to drive the car, they want to look at the features, understand the vehicle, touch it, feel it, all of that. Who we see more so likely to buy online is the person that's buying their new Escalade every 2 years. And they're just going to get the same trim. They're like, boom, done. I don't need the hassle. I know what it drives like. I've had one for 20 years. I just boom, boom, boom. So that's, I don't think people really understand that. And my 21-year-old bought her first car last fall, and when she texted me, because we don't talk, but when she texted me that, Mom, I just need to drive the car. I'll either be willing to part with the money or not. And I was like, wow, that's true.
That's so much of that rings just all the feels right there. We don't talk, we text. I hear you. Yeah, that really is surprising to me. I would have anticipated, I think there's a general perception out there that the younger generation is the generation that is driven by digital channels and they're highly focused on that. But it sounds like that certainly in your world is a little bit of a misconception, and it's that person that already knows what they want because they've already bought it many times.
Yeah. In terms of doing the full deal online, that's who it is. The digital channels are so necessary for just general engagement. You'll start conversations on Facebook, other third parties like OfferUp, as well as the dealer's website, text or chat. And so it's important that, the business is staffed there because people do want to engage. It's much more than the phone call because people don't want to talk. They want to text, especially initially. They want to be anonymous. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's also a little bit of a challenge. I mean, I know you worked with the sales environment at the manufacturer level, and then you've been doing this retail digital engagement. But it seems like there's been, because of the digital age, a shift in the potential for customers to come in really knowledgeable about A, what's available, B, kind of what the typical price range is, right? I mean, Kelley Blue Book and the like have been around for a long time, but, I can, just fire up an app and find, a very specific make, model, year, mileage, and have a pretty good idea of what that's selling for today, whether it's private party or at a dealership. Have you seen that change the way that the dealers engage with customers from a sales process?
Yes. And I mean, I think that change really happened probably 10 or 15 years ago. Again, it kind of lets go of this haggling back and forth over any significant amounts of money. In most cases, I have to say, in most cases, cars are so different and how they've been driven and in terms of trade-in values. And now today's market is just, it's insane. So
we're going to talk about that a little bit. I think I do want to talk about that because I think it's fascinating. But first, you're a car girl. That is pretty obvious. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't ask, number one, like, what's the favorite car that you've ever driven? Like, what was the best drive ever?
The best drive ever. Wow. So that changes over time too. When I got married, it was my Nissan 240 red with T-tops. Was so sweet. When I got up to child number 3, it was the Nissan Armada, which we kept for 12 years and no problems at all. So with 4 kids, it was like, yes, I really loved a Jeep Liberty, except that puts the kids right behind your head. And so I was like, no, honey, we need to. So the Armada was really wonderful. and then the kids grow up. So today I have a 2016 Lincoln MKC that I would tell you is the best drive, because now in my 50s, that comfortable seat, and it's still very responsive. I've typically always driven Nissans because I like to drive. So a lot of this autonomous driving features, I actually like to drive. So Nissan's always been my favorite. But the Lincoln it gives you that too. It's very responsive, but you still have that comfort. So yeah.
Ah, fascinating. Yeah, you can't really put the kids in the Z. That doesn't work.
No, it would not have worked. Yes.
Yeah, and it's definitely a purpose-built car, and that purpose is to have fun driving, not to stow kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you alluded to it, and this car market, I think, is also impacting customer experience significantly. I mean, obviously there are some supply chain issues from the pandemic that have really impacted cars, because we have made all of these advances in auto. And so now every car has loads of chips and electronics in them. It's there's not the same kind of just wrenching on it's not like that 40Z that you can wrench on in the garage. That doesn't happen. So how is this impacting customer experience when it comes to buying a car in this market in, say, the last year?
There's a couple things. There is definitely the chip shortage impacting it, but there's also COVID. And so initially, when things started to shut down, March of 2020 and April, and states would open and states would shut, and states would open, and a lot of people who were used to getting an Uber or Lyft, they were like, no, thank you, I'll get a car. And we would have people chat in from New York saying, will your dealer in South Carolina deliver to me? Because New York had shut down. Then you had dealers in New York go, okay, well, we've been shut down, but we want you guys to continue to talk to our shoppers. We'll email them, blah, blah, blah. So they found a way to continue to stay open. And then within the conversations where we had been a pretty even split transactional, relational type of consumer, everyone became relational. How are you today? I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're well. You know, this was coming from the shoppers, checking on us. Yeah. Really neat. And so we, of course, gave it back. Then you come into the summer with the civil unrest and the protest, and suddenly now that's a part of the conversation as well, and a part of the journey and the experience, because if a business had someone working for them who put an offensive Facebook post, and there they are with their logo shirt on representing that business, you know, people were letting the business know about it. And so again, our frontline agents had to be empathetic and listen and take down the details so that our clients could do what they want with that. So then you roll in the chip shortage and the inventory shortage behind it. You know, I can't say enough about the frontline customer service, customer experience people in the world today. Like, it's so far beyond, oh, good, thanks for showing up for work. It's now, thanks for being an acrobat and just rolling with whatever is coming, because that's truly what we're doing. I don't even try to imagine what's next, because there's no way you could predict any of that. So from the inventory shortage perspective on the customer journey, where people, that was part of the emotion and part of the high, is like you walk in, you want to, you know, studies again show us shoppers want to spend 30 minutes to an hour buying a car, which is not realistic. by any stretch. So, and you really shouldn't want that, because you should want to take the time to understand what you're buying and get the full walkthrough and explanation. But so now shoppers are waiting 8 weeks. They're paying sticker. They're waiting 8 weeks. And they're okay with it, because I think that's, what's 8 weeks when 2 years ago we were told, 2 weeks and we'll be back to normal. So I think everyone's kind of been conditioned to settle and be patient and roll with it, be that acrobat, right?
Yeah, it seems like, there's that both the housing market and the car market are, very different right now than they have been for really the last decade.
Yeah.
And, if you're in that market and you've participated in that market before in the last decade, just be prepared, because it's not the same market. It's
Right.
very different.
I saw an article where a dealer was explaining that people who are new to his company, to his locations, he's ensuring that management is having repetitive conversations with the sales team to say, this is not normal. So enjoy while you can, save, and just know this is not normal. So don't go out and buy the boat, the motorcycle, this. And I love that so much, because you should take care of your folks. It's fine to enjoy your working long hours. You're providing great service. Absolutely enjoy what you're earning, but just know that doesn't go on forever. So.
Yeah. You brought up something that I think is interesting, and I don't know that we consider this enough in customer experience, but that is the impact of social media engagement by the employees of a company.
Yeah.
That is, I think, for a lot of companies, while social media has been around, right? This is not a new phenomenon, but I think the impact that it can have on a business today is uniquely different than what it was, say, 5-10 years ago, because nobody paid attention to your MySpace page. Like,
right.
Nobody looked at your GeoCities website. That was not a thing. So, what advice would you have for, companies today whose employees, I would assume, or I think you have to assume, all of them are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for companies when it comes to managing that?
It's just, you have to be respectful, but you have to be watchful and responsive. And social media is, I don't think there's anyone can do about Snapchat and what's happening on Snapchat. Probably, thankfully so. So it's interesting. My kids are 27, 22, 21, and 14. And when the 14-year-old last year said, I want to get on Instagram, all of the 3 older children said, absolutely not. Do not let him do that. I was like, oh, okay. So now he's on it, but they all follow him. So I think that's where, if you're a company and you have your business presence on Instagram, Facebook, any other social channel, and it allows for consumers to message in, you really need to be paying attention to it. Listen, it's no different than having a phone ring and not answering it. That's not the message you want to send. These are preferred channels of communication for a great number of people. So if they're choosing to engage with you to relay something about something they've seen related to your business, make sure that you have someone capable of listening to that. So many times we'll get the message within an hour. We've already fully communicated with that business. That business has already taken action, And then we get a message back from the consumer saying, thank you. We've heard from this business. So
that leads me to ask, I mean, is social where all of the digital engagement is happening these days? Is that where it all is, or is that just a small part of that?
in terms of commerce, I would not say no. For us, it's much smaller than the majority. Certainly, text and chat is 90+%. But even if it's 10% or less, it's still significant. So
Yeah, for sure. So I think you offer a unique perspective on this. So I'm gonna ask you to break out your crystal ball and tell me what you think the next big shift is going to be when it comes to, the customer experience within the automotive industry.
I think that we're at the very start of that next big shift. So we've already have consumers, as I said, being more patient, waiting for whatever piece of inventory they want to come in. I think tied to that, we'll start to see more direct ordering. So the franchise laws are deeply set in our country. Dealerships won't go away. But they may transform into more of a delivery type center. So you may have more product focused associates on the floor to help give that thorough explanation of all the technology and how the vehicle works. Today, Ford has a program that a lot of dealers participate in where the consumer can order their Ford vehicle, receive an additional incentive, additional money off the price, and then they take delivery at that dealership. So it benefits the dealer and it benefits the consumer. And I think that's what we're going to see. So many options and choices. Consumers are going to become more purposeful in what they choose to have in their vehicle and thereby become more patient and waiting for it to come in. Price is less important, which I think is a huge shift. So, yeah.
There's one other thing that I'm curious just to hear your thoughts on. I read an article recently, and I think this speaks to the advancements that we've had in the automotive industry from the technology side, which is, really great. Like I remember my first car had zero tech. Like it was not an exciting vehicle. And then I think about my car today, right? And it's got GPS in it, and it can connect and tell someone if I've been in a crash and automatically dispatch people. Like all of these things are available in cars. And then you see, right, the brand new electric cars and all of the tech going on in them, and really a huge change to the interior. But I also saw that because a lot of the cellular networks are now shutting down 3G service to make room for 5G service, that you've got some kind of mid-model cars that now are not going to be able to be connected unless I go and I upgrade, if it's upgradable, so that they can put something else in there.
Right.
Also, you're seeing a lot of migration to, I think, in the software side, a lot of kind of subscription-based stuff, or
Right.
like I think it was Toyota that your remote start is going to require a subscription to their service for it to actually function. Yeah, so I'm wondering what you think about a lot of these things where there's some obsolescence maybe in some of the tech, but also this migration to more subscription-based things going on with the cars, and how you think that will play out over the long term?
I think it'll be interesting to watch it play out. I think in some manufacturers, it's brilliant and it'll be another revenue stream for them. I think their buyers will, they'll love it. I can hear the conversations. Well, did you update to whatever 0.8 and yes, and what's the difference? And I think for other markets, not so much, so it'll be interesting to see where it takes off and where it doesn't. And I don't think, I know the manufacturers are smart enough to pick and choose what models they're choosing to do this with. I read the same thing. I think it's super interesting that you'll be able to download and upgrade your software and suddenly your engine will function differently.
Wow.
I like a simple life. I like to get in, drive. I don't know. But when you look at the way toys went. It's so hard today. People don't buy toys. They buy like games or skins for a game or this or that so I understand why. I think it'll be interesting to watch and see where it really takes off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also know that they will need help along the way. So just like with all the digital retailing tools, when you can integrate messaging, and we handle that, we see conversations where people are like going through the process and all of a sudden they have a question. I just moved into my new house this week. Do I use this address or my last address, or various questions like that? So even with all the technology, you cannot lose sight of the value of the human interaction, probably even more so. So if there's any hope at all on getting someone like me to go into this software type of thing, I'm going to want a lifeline there. I'm going to want to know I can say, okay, I'm not sure about this,
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think people forget that particularly when it comes from new stuff, right? New complications that are included, and we think, oh yeah, it's to make your life easier, and in a
Right.
lot of ways it does. But when it doesn't work the way you expect it to, having someone that you can get in touch with
Right.
is critical to that customer experience. And if you don't do that, people are going to get really frustrated in a hurry. And
Be
yeah,
done. Yeah. So this is, I don't share this story to make fun of anyone, but it's a great example. In 2000, I traveled the country for AutoNation, and I would go to the Horizon centers, the places that had all the computers and a big room. And I would train managers on how to use the internet-based customer relationship management tool so they could get in and see leads and what the progress was. And so we're sitting, everyone's sitting behind a computer, and there was a gentleman who was mousing around, and his mouse got to the edge of the table, and he just sat there, and he looked at me and he nodded, and I walked over, and he goes, it's at the end. And I'm like, it's okay, you just move it over. But in 2000, people didn't have home computers, they didn't have
yeah,
mice, they didn't, so, but something so simple, it was a real sticking point and we see the same thing within the DR tools, and I think we'll see the same thing in the subscriptions. So
yeah, very. It's going to be a very exciting evolution that we're going to see,
yeah,
and I think for the people that are buying the cars, there's still going to be that excitement, that emotional thing going on, and
yeah,
I think the dealers just have to be ready to support that and support it differently as the customer expectations continue to evolve.
absolutely. Yeah, and they will. Dealers are super smart as a whole. They're entrepreneurs, very intuitive, very perceptive, and they talk. So they share their experiences and they come up with some pretty cool things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's lastly talk a little bit more specifically about what Active Engage does. I mean, I know we've kind of danced around some of those pieces. I know you handle some chat, but this is a managed digital solution that is specifically for dealers. So what does that mean? Like, what all do you do?
So first I have to say we have our own software. It's proprietary. So we have our own development team. And I'm so impressed with our CTO. We get on calls with multi-billion dollar corporations who've been stumped on how to do something. And he'll go, oh, blah, 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 blah. And, and I'm just sitting there going, really? You couldn't have like made that seem like that was a challenge at least? Like, come on. So the software is super, super smart. It's all cloud-based or internet, obviously, so no downtime. And it's so cool because our biggest user is us. So as we've gone through the years and now social became a thing, well, let's develop a new queue and have it function like this. So obviously we handle messaging, SMS and social channels. We also allow dealers to just use our software and handle it themselves. And we have some big clients that choose that direction as well. We have items to behaviorally driven products that can capture consumers, and especially with the inventory shortage, it's so important. Back in the day, there used to be wait lists. You know, if you went in the dealership to see the new model that's coming out, but they didn't happen to have it, you were put on a wait list. Well, we have a digital product that can do the same thing. So we have a reputation product. So at the end of the conversation, we can ask the consumer to tell us how they felt about the interaction, which can then impact the Google review, Dealer Rater, Facebook, wherever our client wants that review to go. And the consumer gets a choice, so they choose where they want it to go in order to bump up SEO rankings, obviously,
Right.
on Google. So we also offer SEO reviews. Other real key to our success is our customer experience team. We have live, actual people. It's like that State Farm commercial. It says they knew your name. Yes, we know our clients' names. They can call us, email us, chat in. But every month, this team is looking at how well did their account perform with us. And we make those recommendations. I came from the dealer world. Our owner and CEO came from that world, head of sales, even the CTO, all of his work has been in the automotive industry. So we're all super focused on our clients, both the end shoppers as well as the dealer clients, and making sure it's a good return on their investment. So
Sounds like some pretty interesting technology there.
yeah.
Well, Carol, look, it's been great having you on the show. I have learned some things today, and I have also been reminded that I remember the internet in 1999. So thanks for that.
My pleasure.
I'm glad I could make you think about it as well.
Yeah, it is crazy when you do stop and think. You know, when the computers were sent out, the help desk would get calls that they needed a different size because their coffee cup didn't fit in that hole, which is, of course, the disk drive that would slide out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to walk down memory lane and talk about what the market's like today. And really, I hope if nothing else is taken, it gives everyone a little second to pause and think about whoever it is helping you today, everything that they're having to bring forth to make that happen. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in every customer experience when we're trying to do it right.
Yeah, for sure.